a friend to Lindsay Park. Now, because he has this big title, it's hard to get an appointment with him. But I have to say, I've been blessed. Antonio and I, we have a monthly meeting. It's unconventional, but it's either in Met's supermarket on Sunday or Walgreens. So all these years, he knows what goes on in Lindsay Park. That's what, we don't plan it, we just end up there. Now, I want you to put your hands together, and I want us to clap for our next Congressman.
Hello, hola, ni hao. I'm so happy to see everyone here. I wanna make this today. I want to make this a conversation because I really want to get to the bottom of the things that are important to you at a federal level. I'm gonna give a little bit of my history, and then we'll have a conversation. Is that cool? All right. So I was born in South 3rd and Hughes, right here up the block from Lindsay Park. So I saw Lindsay Park from my window. I wish I would be able to live here, let me tell you. But I saw you from my window, so I'm from the community I was born and raised. Now I live on South 5th and Hughes. So I moved 2 blocks away because I can't be too far away from my mother because my mother helps me take care of my babies, my grandchildren, her grandchildren. So I want to stay in my neighborhood as long as I possibly can. And that is something that I can do that a lot of people can't do. A lot of young people can't stay in this neighborhood because it's so expensive. It's changed significantly since I was a little boy running these streets. And I want to do something about it. My history comes from my parents came here as immigrants from the Dominican Republic in about 1976, 1977. When they got here, they were on food stamps, they were on Section 8, they were on welfare. My family was extremely poor, and I needed all the help I can get to have food in my stomach and a roof over my head. Poverty was very real for us. And I remember a time when government used to show up for people. When my mother got here, government said, we will help your children, we will help you. And in one generation, my mother saw her son go from a poor kid in the south side of Wintersburg to become the president of the greatest borough in the city of New York. That is the promise of America. That's what America can do for you when government invests in us. But over the last couple of, I want to say this very clearly. You're not going to hear me talk about Republicans versus Democrats in this conversation because it's deeper than that. Because when I was in the city council, I was able to pass legislation called the Right to Know Act. It's legislation that made it so illegal consent searches would never happen in our streets. And that cops give business cards now. And that was in an effort to have a good relationship with the police department. And I explained how. If a police officer is asking me questions and I feel uncomfortable about the questions they're asking, or I feel like they're doing something wrong, the last thing you want to do to a police officer is say, what is your name and badge number? In fear of escalation. If you're in these streets, you know what it is. So instead, you don't need to ask an officer for a badge number or for their name. They're going to give you a business card after that interaction. And then you can walk away in peace. Both sides, no controversy, no issues. So we passed the Right to Know Act in a time when people said if I did that, I would never have another position past city council. And then, long and behold, 3 years later, I become the borough president. Because I do tough things. Because we need to do tough things to make progress work. And right now, our government isn't doing anything for us. We're stagnated. We stopped moving. We are in a housing crisis, and we're not building housing. We're not building affordable housing. Our young people are struggling to get jobs. AI is now coming and making it so that jobs that people used to have, they can't have anymore. We have tariffs going on when we have a crisis of affordability and we can't afford anything in the supermarket. We have a war in Iran that is not necessary, that is making it so you're paying $4.20 in the gas station. So I want you to know that I'm not going to go to Congress and just be a performative individual. I want to go to Congress and do something, action. When I went to Borough Hall, and I love my brother Marty Markowitz, we all love Marty Markowitz, Marty's the king. But Marty was there in a time when we needed performance. Because nobody wanted to be in Brooklyn when Marty was borough president. When Marty was here, he needed to find the gems and show it to people. Say, Brooklyn is amazing, look at this, look at that, come, look at this parade, look at this culture. He did that because nobody wanted to be here. Now, we have Brooklyn tea in England. There's a Brooklyn cupcake in France. Brooklyn is on the map. We don't need to do performative stuff. What we need to do now is effect meaningful change in people's lives. And what I've done is, my first day as borough president, I gave $45 million to Woodhull, Kings County, and Coney Island for Black maternal health. Black women you ever meet in your life, and she also is very rich. And she almost died during childbirth. Because it's not about money, and it's not about athleticism. There's historical health complications that she has because she is black. It is a race issue. So we need to start investing in ensuring that we can save those black women's lives. And in doing so, which you all always know this, if you help black women, you help everyone. Because now that hospital is not only there for black women, that hospital is now there for all of us. And now it's gonna have a state-of-the-art birthing center and a women's unit in that space because I wanna help them. So just know that every time you censor black women, you're gonna be okay. Because now everybody's gonna get supported through that. But that's what I did in my first year. Then remember the migrant crisis that came to this city. And Eric Adams said that they're gonna destroy this city. We opened up a work authorization center in Borough Hall. And 6,000 migrants got working papers in less than 9 months in my office. Which means those are 6,000 people that are not in hotels that your tax dollars are paying for, are not in homeless shelters or in cots over a tent that your tax dollars are paying for. We got to action. We said we could do something, and we're the only borough hall that had a work authorization center. And because of that, 6,000 people were able to start their lives working, because that's what they came here to do, to come work. Somebody leaned on it. So those are two examples. Those are two examples of me. You know what I don't know? In the beginning, the first 6 months, I felt obligated to throw parties because that's what everybody else did. After 6 months, you haven't been back to Borough Hall to throw a party. We're suffering too much for us to be drinking wine and eating cake. That's not what we should be doing. People are dying in our streets. People have no homes. There's no food in our tables. We have cuts to Medicaid. If you guys are on Medicaid, you know that there's cuts to Medicaid. There's cuts to SNAP if you are on SNAP benefits. There's cuts to it. And I'm not gonna advocate for that because I read it in a book or I saw it on TV that this is what we should be fighting for. It's because Medicaid and SNAP saved my life. I'm going there, I can't move from this position. I can't sell out because it is who I am. And that's what I want to do, to go to Congress, fight back against the powers that be, that are not just Republican and Trump. It's also what we call corporate Democrats that started looking out for the interests of the very few wealthy people and forgot about all of us. These Democrats that are now making it so that people are not voting for Democrats, they're not voting for Republicans. Those are two different things. Not voting for a Republican is different than voting for a Democrat. Because what's happening here is that over the last 5 years, which includes Joe Biden's era, we've seen the greatest wealth transfer in the history of our nation. More people, we have more trillionaires, we're about to get a trillionaire, but more billionaires and more millionaires than ever in our history. There's more rich people, millionaires and millionaires, that I want to know if our lives have improved over those last 5 years. They just haven't. That's an inequity that we have to solve for. We need to start being a party that looks out for the middle class and the working class. And we stop being that. And I want to bring that back. You guys know that my first years as a council member, I worked very hard in Lindsay Park. And I want to tell you why I was so motivated. It's because you and this program that was cut, by the way, Mitchell Lama has been cut from the federal government. No money comes to the state and the city to build more Mitchell Lamas. And Mitchell Lamas are technically, or arguably, like the middle class and working class of the minority communities all over this city, not just here. You guys represent the last bastion of middle class ownership in this city that look like us across the board. But I came here because I saw that your rates and your fees were increasing exponentially. it stopped being an affordable opportunity here in Lindsay Park and started being so expensive. And every single year, HPD wanted to give an 8% increase. The next year, 10% increase. The next year, 20% increase. At some point, the bleeding needed to stop. We needed to slow it down. Why is it that we see these significant increases year in and year out? When we gave the elected officials were giving money for the roof, elected officials were giving money for windows and pointing, like so many things we were giving money for, but you still had to pay all this money. And then we have a gas leak somewhere, and we are responsible for replacing that, not the gas company that put it in the first place. And I just thought, hey, listen, I don't like how this is moving. We need people that we can hold accountable for getting us to the right place. And HPD gave up their authority and their oversight. They were like, oh, that's not our problem. HPD kept saying, Lindsay Park's problems are not my problem. But when they need the money, they're having meetings with you guys in 250, PS 250, saying we need to do increases. They show up to tell you that they need more money or that you guys gotta get increases, but they don't show up when it's time to figure out what we're gonna do with the gas tank. Are they paying for our lawyers? Are they supporting a lawsuit versus them? They're not doing that. So I felt like we needed to build a board that was strong, that could push back against it. And this is an opinion, this isn't a fact. And I didn't feel like the board at that time was ready to take that mantle. So I wanted to push to build reform, right? Now, I believe in everyone's right to self-determination. You have the right to choose your leadership, right? You have that right. And when that leadership is chosen, I have to respect the decision that you made, right? So we spent a lot of time organizing, and we didn't get necessarily a change in leadership. We didn't get that, which means that the majority of the residents here, or the shareholders here, decided they wanted to go in a different direction. From that moment on, I was just supporting the current board, or the board that was there at that moment. I was supporting that. Because I want to give you that history, because I don't want to shy away from my fight. I don't want you guys to think that because the board is there. I have relationships with the board members that used to be part of the older board that I have problems with. But I still have a relationship with them, and I'm not hiding from that because you guys made a decision that that was okay. And if it's okay for you, then I gotta deal with it and I gotta handle it. And I can't ignore Lindsay Park's board, right? Because you guys have needs. And I gotta show up for you one way or another. And that board is what's gonna help us do that. So I wanna work with that board to help us. But I don't wanna shy away from my history so that you don't think that I forgot about it, one. But what I hope you get from that though, regardless of what side you were on and what we were doing, is that I'm a fighter. And that I work. And that I put my neck on the line, and I have no fear in my body. I have conviction in the work that I do. I believe what I say. I don't just do it because it's cool. I was in the minority, I wanna be very clear, I was in the minority of Lindsay Park's opinion during that time. So I wasn't doing it to get votes, because I was losing votes every single day. But I thought it was the right thing to do. And I want you to know that when I go to Congress, I might be doing something that is nationwide unpopular, but it's the right thing to do, and I'm always gonna do that for you guys. I want you to know. The last thing I'm gonna say before we get to a quick conversation is that I got a lot of love in my heart. I'm a son, I grew up in really hard times. You guys were here in the 90s. You guys were here in the late 80s and the early 90s. That's when I was born and raised here. I was born in Cumberland Hospital, raised in the South Side. And I just want to give you a little bit of my family's history here. My family, they got here from the Dominican Republic, and my cousins that were born in the Dominican Republic, that came here young, so they're like maybe 6, 7 years older than me, right? They all got involved in drug dealing, a lot of them. And I lost, a whole generation of my family was lost. They were lost, so I got 2 of my cousins were killed, one in Grand Street, and the other one on Hughes, on 403 Hughes Street. They were killed. I have 4 uncles that have been deported. I still got 2 cousins in jail because of all that. And my family, my mother and my aunt Nordma, decided that she was like, we need to save the generation of kids that we're raising here. How do we do that? And she put us in this school, a Catholic school called LaSalle Academy. And now we got more than 40 graduates, because it's an all boys school. 40 of us from the family, all the boys in my family, they all go to LaSalle. Because my family thought education was the way out, right? Right? And I learned a lot from there. And I'm not trying to make this religious, and it's not. I'm just saying, but what I learned is that I didn't have enough love in my heart. I was an angry boy. I was a sad boy, right? Because of my upbringing, I felt like I had to be tough all the time. I had to wear a hard shell, disrespecting people, fighting too much. And it was LaSalle and the Moyne College that taught me love. I got so much love in my heart. I love every single person here. I love all of you. When you see me in the supermarket, you see me going to Lindsay Park, you see me to go see the softball players, or to have my little son run around in the little park that we need to work on. But I want to tell you all that I do love you, and that I always represent you, and that I'm proud to be your borough president. I was proud to be your council member, and hope that come June 23rd, I'll be your Congress member. Thank you so much. As a surveillance program for Muslim New Yorkers. That's what it was created for by George W. Bush in that time and Rudy Giuliani. What they decided was that they needed to figure out a way to be on top and surveil Muslims that they thought might be a threat to this country. And it happens every single time. Something like that happens, and right away they start going after the people in this country that have no connection to what's happening over there, but the people in this country. They do this all the time. Japanese internment camps were something that happened in this country. They separated Japanese people in this country during World War II. We look at other countries and we think, oh, these other countries are terrible. No, we've done terrible things in this country. Very terrible things. And that's an example. So when that happened, the Muslim community, even if they were innocent, had surveillance, and ICE was going after those people. That's when it was born. Before then, they were deporting 750, 800,000, 1 million people every single year that were criminals in our system. 99.9% of the people that are deported through a DHS system, the Department of Homeland Security, which are people that you shoot somebody, you go to jail, you see a judge, and the judge either gives you jail time or deports you, and that process happens. That's what happens. ICE, right now, is not deporting rapists, murderers, and any of those people. They're deporting 5-year-old kids, students in Columbia University. They're going to hospitals. They're going to churches. That's what they're doing. You know why? Because they have no job. They have nothing to do. When you have nothing to do, you got to go look for something. Yeah. So what happens? I think it's 84% of the people that ICE have detained have no criminal record. Zero criminal record. And I want to be clear that the 16%, if you jumped over a turnstile in 1990, you're considered a criminal. So those are in that 16%, right? So now we're talking about a force that is being used that has no real value because we're already have a system that deports the criminals that they're talking about. And now, if ICE was moving around and caught a rapist and they were on TV, we wouldn't be upset with that. Nobody here would be mad at ICE for doing that. If they caught a murderer, but they're not. We're seeing 5-year-old boys and separation of families. And you tell me who in America is like, we're okay with that? We're just not. And it's because we've turned a very small and niche agency in ICE into a militaristic force. We quadrupled their budget. So now they have so many people and they don't know what to do. So they just go around causing trouble. So I want to eliminate ICE. We didn't need it before 2002. We don't need it now. We don't. And the problem with having an agency like ICE is that it's Trump today, but it could be somebody else tomorrow. It allows for us, if we keep it, it allows for a mechanism to do dictatorial or tyrannical work. If you wanted to be a dictator, and I'm not saying that Trump is one, but let's say the next guy is crazy, and they want to be a dictator, you know where they're going to go? To ICE. They're going to go fund ICE more money and start the process of terrorizing people. So we got to eliminate seeds of tyranny. We're America. We don't play those games. So if there's a seed or a root, we got to get it out. A weed, we got to get it out. And ICE is that. Unlike the defund the police movement, I was talking about specifically the entire police department. Those are two different conversations. So I don't want you, when you hear abolish ICE, I don't want you to connect the two. They're two different worlds. We have a system that already holds people accountable at the federal level. The other conversation was at a local level, 2 different animals, okay? But that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna abolish ICE. And we're also gonna tax the rich. And I wanna talk about this, because people get scared about taxing the rich. And they're like, what are we talking about, Antonio? So,
Talk about it.
I wanna talk to you about this. Amazon made about 50 to 60 billion dollars last year in profit. So Amazon made 50 to 60 billion dollars in profit. Do you know that a significant amount of their workers are on welfare, have food stamps, and are on Section 8?
Yes.
Which means that your tax dollars are subsidizing Amazon's workforce, right? So Amazon makes billions of dollars, but we take care of their employees. That's unacceptable.
Right.
So when we talk about taxing the rich, we're not saying Jeff Bezos can't be rich. We're just saying the least you're gonna do is make sure that that person has a living wage so that they don't take money from our tax dollars to support them.
Right.
That's all you need to do. Pay them enough to be out of the bracket where they need social services from the federal government. Because you're making billions of dollars. Now look, you're a supermarket, right? And you're making $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year in profit, and you're paying minimum wage. That's legal. You're doing the work. But if that supermarket makes $1 billion tomorrow, oh, we don't want a minimum wage for their workers.
Right.
Because the reason that they're getting rich, the reason that they're billionaires, isn't because they work harder than you, it's because they're exploiting people.
Right.
So taxing the rich is just about building equity. We're gonna have Bezos, instead of having a 500-foot yacht, he's gonna have to buy a 480-foot yacht. That's what we're talking about. So I want you to hear it. You can have your yacht, it's just not gonna be that big. That's it. So don't be scared when you hear that. Because another thing is they say all the billionaires and the millionaires are gonna leave. 400,000 millionaires in New York City. The most millionaires we've ever had in our history right now. We have, I think it's like 78 or 79 billionaires in New York. You know why they're here? And why they're never gonna leave? Because New York is like a car to them. New York is like a basketball team to them, right? You're not really rich if you can't live in New York. Well, you live in Nebraska? Who lives in Nebraska? I'm a millionaire, I live in New York. It's like having your Benz. It's like having, it's like having a big chain around your neck. If you can't live in New York, then you're not really rich. That taxing the rich stuff scares you, not me. You know why? That's why we have more than ever. Don't ever think, and the thing is I don't want you to do is people want us to keep looking down. What they want you to do is fight people with little, fight against people with less. That's what they want. They want you to go after immigrants, Haitians with TPS, people that have no political capital, that don't make one decision in this country at a legislative level, people that have no money, and those are the people that are making our lives tougher. That's what they want you to think. Instead of what we should be doing, which is looking up. It's like, why are you all 80? How do you have a 500-foot yacht? And I can't buy my kid a toy boat. Like, that's unacceptable. So what I always tell people is never look down, always look up. Your problems come from people that got influence, people that got money, that can make decisions that make your life easier, and they don't. And that's why I want to decorporatize the Democratic Party and move them away from taking corporate. I don't take any corporate dollars. Right. So there's not one company that is giving me money. It's modified by the Supreme Court. So they watered it down. The Voting Rights Act came from the Civil Rights Movement during the Martin Luther King Jr. era. They did the Voting Rights Act, John Lewis and company, right? And what they were saying is that we didn't have fair representation. Because what they would do, and I'm gonna pick a state like Louisiana. Louisiana was 40% black and 60% white. We're gonna make it like very easy for math. And there wasn't one black representative in Congress. How does that happen? That they were drawing maps where they were all 60-40 maps, 60-40, 60-40, 60-40. So they had 10 60-40 maps. So all of the electeds were white. So what the Voting Rights Act said is that if a state has 40% of the population is black, they should have 40% of the seats be black in their community, right? So now they drew districts that were majority black. And in majority black districts, we saw Louisiana's representation. Now instead of 10 white representatives, they had 6 white representatives and 4 black representatives. But they had to draw the maps a certain way to make that happen. And now Louisiana at the congressional level was more representative of its community than not. The Supreme Court today said that they shouldn't do that. Like, the maps should be drawn like squares, and it doesn't matter how it looks. The thing is, with those squares, that black people don't live just in one area. They're spread out. They're all over the state of Louisiana. So instead of the 4 black districts, you might only have 2 now. So now they're gonna be they're still 40% of the community, but they're only gonna have 2 representatives out of 10. So that's what the Supreme Court said today. As we all know, the Supreme Court is deeply conservative. And the Supreme Court is looking out for the interest of the Republicans and Donald Trump. So what happened is that Donald Trump started a terrible thing. I wanna be clear, it's terrible on both sides. We're doing something called gerrymandering.
Yeah.
We're starting to cut up maps to help political parties. That is the saddest thing that you can do in a democracy, right? Now the Democrats are doing they started it, right? So they did it in Texas and they did it somewhere else, right? And they drew these lines and they gave the Republicans 9 seats. So the Republicans pretty much got rid of Democrats by just redrawing lines that were more Republican than Democrat. So in California, they were like, well, hold my beer. I'm gonna show you. And now they got 10. And then Florida did it. And then, so now they're all doing this work. And the Supreme Court new determination makes it so that those people don't need to even go to court anymore. Because before you sue and you say this is discrimination, now you can't do that. The Supreme Court just said it's illegal to do what you guys have been doing, giving minority seats. This seat that we're in was the first minority district built in this city under Native Alaskans. It was this was supposed to be a majority Asian and Latino district. We had both Chinatowns, one in the Lower East Side and the one in Sunset Park, and then we had the majority Latino districts that were in Williamsburg, Bushwick, East New York, Cypress Hills, and that way. That's what it was originally. So she went from a district that was represented by a white man, Solars, in that time, right? To her running and getting elected in the majority district. Right now, the Voting Rights Act is so watered down that they can draw this district any way they want. And in drawing it the way they want, we might not have a minority representative. Now, I want to be clear, the lines, even as drawn, has changed significantly because of gentrification. So right now, this district only has 34% of this district is white, 34%. But it's 51 or 52% of the voting population. It means that the Asian, Black, and Latino population don't vote at the same rate as the white population. So even though it is right now it's drawn as a minority district. This is a majority minority district. But the people that make the determination on who their representative is are the white people, right? And there's nothing wrong with voting. They're doing what they're supposed to do. What we need to do is activate our people so we can have a balance in how we're voting, right? That's all. So there's no voter is the problem. The fact that the white population votes at 51 or 52% is not the problem at all. Our inactivity is the problem.
That's it.
Right? So I want to be very clear. So that's what's happened today. It's a big blow. You're gonna see on the news for the next 2 weeks. This is all they're gonna talk about, because the future of this country hangs in the balance now, and we're pretty much when the Supreme Court says something, it's the law. It is a wrap right now. We're in big trouble. And the Democrats need to win the House to be able to even consider fighting back on this. If they don't, and Hakeem Jeffries needs to be the leader. He's not. We're in big trouble.